Lost ways. So let's have a look down. As I say, I wish I'd have got it in book format, to be honest with you. I don't want to do any with that. Let's get rid of that. Anyway, sorry. Let's have a look down. What I'm going to do is scroll through the myriads. This book is dedicated to the pioneers who overcame the toughest times and built one of the greatest nations of all. I can't deny that. Although, little old Great Britain isn't too bad. We owned 2/3 of the world at one time, didn't we? Special thanks to authors, and obviously there we go. M. Taylor, Theresa Ann, blah 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 blah. But let's get to the meat. Disclaimer: this book is designed only to provide information. This information is provided and sold with the knowledge that the publisher, editor, authors do not offer any legal or other professional advice. Anyway, and so on. So you get a disclaimer, which I think you've got to do under these circumstances because people do eat the wrong foods. Some products described in this book do not comply with the FDA, USDA and FSIS regulations, so beware. But we're survivalists. We're not going to have them regulations of the SHTF. So we start with the table of contents, and that's a good place to go. So the disclaimer, and then we're making beer, basic recipes. Well, we can find them anywhere. But it's useful to have it all in one book that you can throw in your bug out bag and get out. And that's the principle behind this book. One good book. I can take a box of books, but I can't move about with a box of books. And I have a box of books. Probably about 2 boxes of books. But anyway, I want it all in one that I can survive with. And this, to me, does it. And I haven't got through it yet, so I'm making it a statement there. So, equipment, ingredients for making beer. Create malted beer. Making yeast, a word on hops and making beer, a bit on the stronger stuff. So make a still, an alembic still, a homemade still, and a schematic of a homemade still. I've had a look at that. Ginger beer making, the old-fashioned way, the deadliest drink, drunken sailors, and beer gets boring. Spicing it up, easier brew, and then we go on to how North American Indians and early pioneers made pemmican. Well, that, by the way, if you click on the link I sent or the link in the description, you'll get that recipe as a video for free. In case you haven't seen the last one I sent out, watch the video. He describes with all the details for free before you buy anything the pemmican recipe. So rendering fat, so on and so forth. How much do I need? So it's giving you quantities of survival. Spycraft, multicolored correspondence during the 1700s and 1900s. Interesting. Rectal acorn. I haven't read that yet. Silver ball and quill letters, invisible ink, and mass letters. That certainly could become useful in an economic collapse. Modern firearms, that's useful. Not so much for us in Britain, but definitely for you guys. Rifles and ammunition, reloading components. Most of on USA guys know that. Primer, pocket bullets, projectiles. The cast lead bullet. Casting bullets, pretty straightforward. Black powder, primers. Reloading equipment. As I say, this book goes on a long while. I don't know if you want me to keep going. How forefathers built their sawmills, grain mills and stamping mills. Right? How our ancestors made herbal poultice to heal their wounds. Soothing poultice. Stop this any time you want to read this. What our ancestors were foraging for and how to wildcraft your table. Cleavers, dandelion, chicory, cocktails. There's photos in there. Lots of photographs. Quite a good photograph, I find, to get you going. You know, I think once you've got the basis of food foraging, then unless you know Greek, which I do not, Latin, which I do not, then we have to go by our eye, really. How our ancestors navigated. Well, most of us have seen that one, but it's useful to have the stars. If you refer back to my other videos, you'll see navigation. There's some videos on navigation, letting the sun guide you, letting the moon guide you. If we're moving, as I say, my survival techniques, I'd like to plant myself in, hide and stay in the one area and live there. So anyway, it's all good in the one place, boo. How to make knives, snowshoes, seen them on Ray Mears. Roundhouse, how to build a roundhouse, that's good. I haven't got that far in the book yet. An ancestor's guide to root cellars, very good. Right space, job, climate, what to keep and where. Creating an ideal conditions, light and humidity, dirt floors, wet cloth and paper, standing water, blah blah blah. Storage ideas in the garden, storage and installation, excellent for the prepper. Things that do and do not belong in your root cellar. Proper storage, good old-fashioned cooking on an open flame, cast iron, seasoning your cookery, never use dish soap, iron rusts, no fire. I'm going to go on a bit here, guys. So, roast on a spit, roast on a string, Dutch oven, recipes past and future, meat pies, wassail, apple pie, biscuits. Okay, useful to think about this. This is a one book, excuse me if I vape, this is a one book, bug out book in my opinion. That's what I'm formulating with it. So that's why I say, I wish I bought the hard copy. Now, because I'm not going to be able to bug out with a laptop. Well, you can, but the battery isn't going to last. Clean water, stock of water, basic recipes for soap, making wood ice, collecting fat, and you can see over here on the right, I've got a long way to go, but let's get this first bit out of the way, and then I'll find a recipe for you. Make soap with modern ingredients, how to make soap, temporarily installing wood burning stove, heating with wood, making traditional survival bark bread. Oh, I can't wait to see that one. 296. I'll come back to that. That's the one we'll have a look at. 296. It's alright, this bit won't go on much longer, guys. I just want you to have a look in. Finding land trails, how to set foot trap, underwater trails, tanning, how to build smokehouse, smoke fish, hot smoking, practical survival lessons, the Donner Party, story of the Donner Party. Yeah, that was that big phone, yeah. So there's a bit of history in there and some ideas. Stress leads to anger and volatility, age and gender play a huge role in survival, small wounds equals death. How sheriffs from the frontiers defended their villages and towns, crime in the west, communications, organisation, duty of sheriffs, restoring the sheriffs, and that's what's in the book at a quick flick. So let's go and have a look at 296. Traditional and survival bark bread. There are people in the world so hungry that God cannot appear to them except in the form of bread. Mahatma Gandhi, I guess I didn't see that in the Bible. Modern Beg East, the dead existed became available, used expensive most population. Hey, homemade yeast can be made through various. I've done a video on homemade yeast, by the way. You want to go back and have a look at that? Winter wheat during the fall. Best time to plant, making their own bread. People from the early age used to plant and harvest their own wheat. Cover seeds. Sourdough starter. So it's good on yeast. I mean, yeast is so important to us because we're how to make a tasty bread. So it's all about breads, which is staple if we can get the grain, grass seed. But it didn't start with that, did it? 2 cups of flour, baking soda, making bark bread. What's that about? That's what I wanted to say. Famine bread. Bark bread is common forms of survival food. Many would ask if tree inner bark is really edible. The answer to that is yes. Okay, there comes our bread. I'll research this and do a video on this in the next 2 or 3 videos. Using the right part of the bark from the right species of tree. The edible part of the tree bark is the cambium layer, which is the next, not the outer layer, which lies right next to the tough inner wood. So you come back from the bit you carve. Safe bark and harvest from trees, the most common being pine trees. Well, I'll be frank, I didn't know that. So, and I don't know if you knew that, but ask yourself the question. If I had this in my bag, there's a lot of pine trees all over Britain. Harvested from trees, the most common being pine trees, slippery elm, black birch, yellow birch, red spruce, black spruce, balsam, fir and tamarack barks. I'm going to let you read this so you'll be able to do this. It's more easily removed from the tree trunk, harvest in spring. Another reason why the best harvest in spring is because the vitamin content is highest than the time we should harvest to prepare the bark. Positive identification of the tree species. So you need to be quite good. Take only narrow vertical portions of the bark from the tree. Shave off the grey outer bark and the greenish middle layer of the bark to get down to the rubbery white or cream coloured inner layer. Be careful not to shave too deeply. See picture. So there's the picture. This is interesting, isn't it? I'm going to do this. I've got to make a loaf out of this. Oh, come on guys, if you make a loaf out of this before me, send me a video or do ping me. This is exciting. Cut and peel off the whitish rubbery inner. Dry the bark in the sun or a rack flat rock, just like the image. You should take a day to dry the bark strips, but that's dependent on the weather, obviously, we know that. So we're pulling that over a rack on a coat fire. This is interesting. You can eat the bark as soon as you've harvested it. You can also fry or boil it or make some bark snacks to make the bark into flour. You only need to dry it for a day and then pound it until it turns to powder. And that oatmeal and wheat flour. You can add the bark flour when making your breakfast bread, just as the greatest grandparents survived. But when they went through severe famine, bark bread was also something that was actually part of their diet. Even during the wars of the 20th century, bark was used in addition to nutrition to daily rations. I like that. You know, anyway, I can't give you the whole book.